6:02. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's meeting of the Planning Advisory Committee of November 18th. I'm Brad Mitchell, and I'll start the meeting by giving a quick overview of what the Planning Advisory Committee's mandate is, as well as a breakdown of how the meeting will progress. The Planning Advisory Committee consists of 9 citizens of St. John who have been appointed by the city's nominating committee. Our role is to provide advice to Common Council on applications to amend municipal development plan, zoning bylaws, Section 59 conditions, subdivision proposals, along with a number of other possible issues. Our views and opinions are independent. Tonight's meeting will progress as follows. Shortly, the committee will vote to adopt the agenda for this evening's meeting. Following the adoption of the agenda, we'll do a roll call for the members of the committee. Then we'll approve the minutes for the previous PAC meeting, and any conflicts of interest that the members may or may not have. We'll then go through this evening's applications and follow that agenda until it is complete. For each item, city staff will provide an overview presentation. Following this, the applicant will be asked to address the committee. Once the applicant has finished their presentation, the committee may ask follow-up questions. There are a number of letters that we have from members of the public in regards to some of these changes, and members of the committee will address those. The committee may ask the applicant to respond to the comments, and after this, the public hearing section is closed. No further comments may be made by the public or the applicant. At this point, there may only be questions of clarification to city staff by the committee. Please remember that this is a safe space, and we ask for everyone to conduct themselves in a respectful manner. Should anyone interrupting the proceedings will receive one warning to refrain from disrupting the meeting. Should disruptions continue, they will be asked to leave the meeting. Members of the public, you are welcome to remain in the chambers to listen to the debate and decision of the committee. However, when your item is concluded, you may leave. Should you have any follow-up questions, please contact city staff. Now let's move on to our meeting. First of all, I'll look for a motion for tonight's agenda. Phil and Terry. Question, all those in favor? Approved. Roll call for this evening's, I'm Brad Mitchell. I'm the chair of the Planning Advisory Committee. First chair is Phil Como. Second chair is now absent with the resignation of Ann McShane. We have Councillor Gary Sullivan, Councillor Jerry Lowe, Peter Pappas, Terry Hutchinson, Josephine Chekwa. Shaya Elementary is not here this evening. Thank you. Do we have any conflicts of interest this evening? I see none. Look for a motion to approve the minutes for the meeting of October the 15th. Do I have a motion? Terry? Sure. And Peter? Question, all those in favor of the minutes? Pass. Thank you. Okay, item 5.1. Just 259 Foster Thurston Road. It's a text amendment to the Special Zone 3. Just one moment here, please. The applicant is the Heart and Stroke Foundation of New Brunswick. The landowner is A&D Sales, Inc. Location is 259 Foster Thurston Drive, PID 000-52704. Plan designation is Rural Resource and Park and Natural Area. The zoning is a special zone number 3. Application type is a zoning bylaw text amendment. The Community Planning Act authorizes the Planning Advisory Committee to give its views to Common Council concerning proposed amendments to the zoning bylaw. Common Council will consider the committee's recommendation at a public hearing on Monday, December 1st, 2025. Please go ahead.
Good evening, Good evening, Chair, councillors, members of the PAC, and city staff. Thank you so much for taking the time to attend. We are pleased to present to you 259 Foster Thurston Drive, which is an amendment to the zoning bylaw. The application submitted by the Heart and Stroke Foundation of New Brunswick seeks to amend the zoning bylaw to add the business office use as a permitted use in the special zone number 3. The proposed amendment would allow the relocation of the Heart and Stroke Foundation New Brunswick offices. This would support their administrative operations, program delivery, and patient support. A subdivision application has been submitted by the applicant that is being tackled with internally at the development officer level. The subject property is located along the east-west running Foster Thurston Drive. The area is rural in nature and does not have access to municipal water and wastewater services. The surrounding neighborhood also contains rural residential development, commercial, and light industrial uses. The site is located in the north end of the city. The site is located in the north end of the city outside the primary development area and is served by a private well and septic system. It is adjacent to the Rockwood Park, and across the street you have the YMCA Glen Carpenter Center. The site is well served by the city's road network with easy access to the highway and the St. John Regional Hospital. Due to the rural location, the site would not benefit from the connection to other forms of transportation, including the broader city pedestrian network, bicycle routes, or public transit. So these are some of the photos that I clicked of the access to the subject site, which is 259 Foster Thurston Drive. So the photo that you see on the left is an image showing the eastern side of Foster Thurston Drive with the access to the existing forest school, which will, like I just explained, will be converted to a business office for the Heart and Stroke Foundation. A change of use permit will be issued at a later date to allow for the conversion into business offices. And the photo on the right is an image showing the west side of the Foster Thurston Drive with the Glen Carpenter Center north of the subject site. The subject site is designated Rural Resource within Plan SJ. The Rural Resource designation is applied to lands outside of the primary development area. They are intended to preserve the rural character of the area and facilitate the continued use of these lands for resource-related activities and for limited residential and non-resource-based land use. A small area of land at the northwest and the southwest corners of the property are designated park and natural area due to the existing drainage and wetlands in the surrounding area. Any future site work in those portions of the property would definitely be subject to WAWA approval. The subject site was rezoned to a special zone in 2018, which promotes rural-style development with opportunities for other forms of land use within the rural context. So as for policy alignment, as you can see on the screen, both policy I2 and LU 105 of the municipal plan seek to ensure compatibility of amendments to the zoning bylaw and municipal plan. So as you can see, the policy LU 95, this text amendment will have minimum disruption to the site and will largely have the land that was formerly intended for the forest school to stay intact. The site is existing and the land has already been developed as a designated rural resource. The likelihood of the adjoining properties, which is the Rockwood Park, which is owned by the city, and the YMCA, to undertake activities within the realm of resource extraction are slim to none. The areas adjacent to Rockwood Park are compatible with the rural resource area designation, and therefore the potential for land use conflicts to occur almost none. And LU 126, this amendment will enable the adaptive reuse of a former private school that will enable the relocation of the offices. While business office is not strictly identified as a community use, the applicant is a nonprofit organization that provides health programs and services to the community and will thereby enhance the health and well-being of the patients. The subject property is an existing forest school. It's zoned Special Zone 3. This was developed to enable the property to be used for a school, K to 8, in addition to the range of uses permitted within the rural zone. These uses range from resource-related activities such as agriculture, fishery, forestry, to residential, institutional, and commercial land uses, including animal shelters, veterinary clinics, and daycares, both home and neighborhood. With the closing of the school, the lodge and associated buildings and infrastructure have been underutilized, and the property owner was considering the best use for the site going forward. As for public engagement, letters were mailed out to property owners within 100 meters of the subject site on the 23rd of October. As for applicant engagement, the applicant did get in touch with property owners on Foster Thurston Drive and the YMCA, and everybody was in support of the proposed use. No letters were received in opposition or support. The public notice for the public hearing was posted on the city's website on November 6th, and the public hearing for this application will be on December 1st. So staff are recommending that PAC approve the attached bylaw amendment entitled Bylaw Number CP 111210. That is a law to amend the zoning bylaw of the City of St. John. Thank you.
Thank you. Committee members have any questions for staff at this time? Thank you. At this time, I'll ask the applicant to come forward and make a presentation. And whether you've read tonight's the staff recommendation and if you're in agreement with it.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Curtis Sisk. I'm with the Heart and Stroke Foundation of New Brunswick. I'm actually their CEO, and I'm happy to hear the city's comments this evening. Thank you to the staff. I did not prepare a presentation this evening because it's simply a zoning amendment, but happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Any members have any questions for the applicant? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
This is a text amendment, so there are no public. So at this point, I'll close public hearing and ask whether there's any committee discussion or any.
I'll move staff recommendation.
I have a motion from Phil, seconded by Terry Hutchinson. Any question? All those in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Thank you. Good luck. Item 5.2. The applicant is Colin McDonald. Landowner is MS Acadia. The civic address is Berryman Street. Portion of the site is at the end of Berryman Street. PID 551-12510. Plan designation is stable residential. The zoning is low-rise residential. Application type subdivision. The Community Planning Act authorizes the Planning Advisory Committee to give its views to Common Council concerning the vesting of public streets. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Good evening, Chair and Committee. As said before you is an application for Berryman Street subdivision. This application includes vesting of a small portion of PID 55112510, which is that, again, end of Berryman Street, as an additional extension to the street itself. This would also require council assent to money in lieu of LPP, as this would include the creation of more than 5 lots. The subject is located on the east side of St. John, off of Old Black River Road. It's part of an unfinished residential neighborhood that contains Berryman Street, Helena Drive, and Miranda Way. And the site itself is a large lot that was envisioned as an extension of this development in 1997. While the subdivision layout has changed since then, it is zoned for a continuation of the existing residential neighborhood, and the street extension is required for any further development of this large lot. The above site photo shows where the existing portion of Berryman ends. The other two are kind of looking from the site down the existing Berryman and down the the nearby Miranda Way. The site itself is in the designation of stable residential, as it is within the PDA and has the potential to accommodate additional development at a scale and density consistent with the surrounding context. The site is currently zoned low-rise residential, which allows for single-family, semi-detached, and townhouse-style development. The subdivision is proposed to accommodate this development pattern, and the lots would need to conform to the zoning bylaw requirements. Neighborhood letters were sent to all residents within 100 meters of the subject site on October 25th. As there is no public hearing before council, no website ad was posted. We did receive one letter in opposition of the application. Staff recommend that council assent to the attached subdivision plan with respect to the proposed street vesting and approve money in lieu of LPP. Thank you.
Thank you. Committee members have any questions for staff at this point? Thank you. I'll call upon the applicant, and if you could give your name and whether you've read the recommendation and if you're in agreement with it. Please.
Hi, my name's Colin McDonald. I'm here representing MS Acadia, and I have read the recommendation, and I agree with it, yes.
Do the committee members have any questions for the applicant at this time? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
At this point, I'll close public hearing. There aren't any, I guess, yes, for street vesting, sorry. So at this point, it's closed. Public hearing is closed. And I'll look for a motion. Terry? Terry and Peter? And question? All those in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Item 5.3. These are text amendments, which is annual zoning bylaw housekeeping. The applicant is City of St. John. Application type is zoning bylaw. The Community Planning Act authorized the Planning Advisory Committee to give its views to Common Council concerning proposed amendments to the zoning bylaw. Common Council will consider the committee's recommendation at a public hearing on Monday, December 1st, 2025. I believe two of you are making a presentation. Thank you.
So we're going to try to find a happy medium when it comes to the height for the podium. Okay, that's good. So good evening, Chair, members of PAC. Roseanne and myself will be tag teaming tonight's presentation on our annual housekeeping amendments. So for those of you who have been around the table for a couple of years, you'll know every year we come forward with a series of housekeeping amendments to our zoning bylaw with the goals of streamlining, enhancing, and improving some of our standards based on what we've heard from applicants, what we've seen as patterns and best practice across New Brunswick and Canada. With that, we hope that these will help keep our zoning bylaw fresh and up to date, reflect some of these changing trends that we're seeing, and will help us with our approval processes and reduction of red tape. Within the agenda package, we do have a table that outlines our existing zoning bylaw language, our proposed language, and a rationale for each change. We will touch on about 6 of the topics. There are others in there that we are happy to answer questions on, but we'll just hit on some of the items with the understanding that you guys have all taken the time to read and absorb what is in that chart. So I'll hand it over to Roseanne for the first few.
Yeah, so I'll just be tackling 3 of them. So over the past couple of years, staff has seen a growing number of inquiries requesting to establish home occupations within accessory buildings as opposed to the dwelling unit. So currently, the way that it is it must be developed within a dwelling unit. The proposed amendment will enable home occupations to be developed within either the dwelling unit or the associated accessory building. And so this will provide greater flexibility to residents and provide new opportunities for home-based businesses. The amendment will include conditions to ensure that the main use of the property will not be altered or will not negatively impact the surrounding neighborhood. This includes a requirement that the placement of a home occupation in an accessory building be permitted only if it does not result in the loss of required on-site parking, and that the home occupation be accessed independently of the dwelling unit. So an example would be to have a pet grooming salon as a home occupation in the garage is something that this amendment can afford to allow, provided the parking spaces meant for the dwelling unit are not removed or it can be replaced. The next one I'll be tackling is the garbage enclosures. So the existing standards associated with garbage enclosures only requires multi-unit residential buildings with 5 or more units to provide enclosures for their outdoor garbage storage. The standards associated with garbage enclosures ensures that screening is in place to reduce the visual impact of garbage storage on the neighboring properties. So what this amendment would do is it would require that rooming houses with 10 rooms, commercial, institutional, and industrial developments align with these standards for on-site garbage storage. And this would thereby ensure a level of consistency across the city for a variety of uses. Clarification will also be provided to ensure that the garbage enclosure requirements also include on-site storage of recycling and composting materials. As for the access for residential purposes, again, there have been a number of planning applications that request for variances to be granted for independent accesses to be provided. So this proposed amendment will outline specific criteria where the requirement of the adjoining of accesses for dwelling units be waived. And those conditions would be if there were topographic constraints, if on-street parking, there were some limitations on that, or if on-site design, that is wherein the garage or extended driveway can provide 2 minimum parking spaces per dwelling unit. So of course, there will still be requests that will need variances, but that will go through the same system that has been going on. That is, we will take feedback from various service areas to assess the impact of the request on infrastructure and street parking. I'll hand it over to Jennifer to do the rest.
Thank you, Roseanne. The next amendment that we are proposing is related to our local commercial zone. So our local commercial zone is typically found in existing or proposed residential neighborhoods with the intention that these properties would provide a commercial use that really benefits the surrounding neighborhood. So if you're trying to envision that, it would be your local convenience store, corner store, maybe a little doctor's office. Typically, what was intended was that commercial use may be supported or developed as a mixed use with residential. So typically, if you want to envision that, you might have a commercial use on the ground floor and a couple dwelling units on top, very similar to what you might see on some of our main streets. So while residential uses are permitted, the intention really was for them to be part of a mixed-use development. The current language in the zoning zone standards basically doesn't provide a requirement or stipulation that that commercial use be incorporated into the site. So what is being proposed is that there would be some conditions established that would require a local commercial site to have some component of commercial land use as part of the development. Standards are proposed that would address mixed building development, where maybe you have 2 buildings. The part of the first building that fronts the street would have commercial on the ground floor, and then maybe the building behind it would not. This would ensure that the intent of the zone is maintained. Well, residential can be supported, but there is that commercial use embedded. The commercial zone really is designed with size requirements, setbacks, and things like landscaping standards that are based on a commercial use. For those individuals who may find one of these properties and say, I want to build solely residential, this would be where we would want to see a person rezone the site to a zone that will work for what they're proposing. This would ensure that the site design and development is based on residential standards. So things like landscaping, parking, site access, building design, and amenity space are really suitable for what the use is. This also takes into account the fact that residential building types are a lot different than what you'd have for commercial. So you would not want someone building, let's say, a 5-unit row house designed as a residential building in local commercial. And a future owner says, well, that middle townhouse unit, I think that'd be perfect place for a convenience store. Without sufficient parking, without the building being designed for that purpose. So this will help really ensure the intended use of the property is maintained, and that if you want to diverge from that, that you are seeking the correct zoning so that you can build something that meets the quality and character of a residential development. Electronic billboard is one of our emerging trends. So billboard is a third-party advertising sign. It's placed on a property and it advertises things that are not associated with the subject site. Electronic message boards, opposite scale of things, are typically located on a site and they're advertising things associated with that building. So typically you'd find them at schools, community centers, arenas, advertising events, activities, and things associated with the property. It has been a trend in the last few years where we've seen applications come in to convert or build billboard signs that have electronic messaging components, whether it's changing images or other components so that they can advertise more businesses. With this, there does emerge challenges. Electronic message boards are not static. They do have different potential impacts on surrounding neighborhoods or surrounding accesses, pedestrian, rail crossings, and vehicle traffic. What's being proposed is some established criteria to help ensure that these proposed signage types are suitable based on its location, that any potential impact to the surrounding land uses are considered, and that conditions are applied if applicable. With this, we worked with our traffic engineer to establish proposed separation distances between these signs and signalized intersections, crosswalks, and rail crossings. Established a criteria to complete a traffic impact study that would really assess the site suitability, the access, assess the safety of the site and how it interacts with vehicle and pedestrian traffic as well as rail. And as well to formally establish this type of billboard as a PAC application, subject to conditions. So these applications, as they have come in, have come to PAC for consideration. This would formalize some of these components to make sure that it's very clear to applicants and to staff as well about the expectations for what would form an application and what would help determine the suitability of one of these signs throughout the community. And the last type of amendment we are going to discuss is our medium industrial use. So currently we have a variety of land uses. Included in that is land use for light industrial use, medium industrial use, and heavy industrial use. The current definition really ties the medium industrial use to whatever is not really allowed in the heavy or light. With the proposed amendment, it's really trying to establish criteria to make it an independent use that doesn't rely on differentiating it from those other two. So with the new definition, it clarifies that there are operating components that can happen, such as manufacturing on the property, and that these operations can occur outdoors. Within that, it establishes that any nuisance or risk factors would not extend beyond the boundaries of the lot, and that as well, water can be utilized as part of the site operations. So this will help really clarify those nuanced differences, with light industrial use being operations, manufacturing that occurs within a building and where any impact stays within that building. medium, where the uses can be inside or outside a building, but the impacts don't generally go beyond the property boundary. And then the heavy industrial use, which is the larger scale, more intensive use that may have broader impacts across the property line. This will help really create that nuance between the three separate uses, will help applicants, staff, and the public really understand how different applications may fall within the criteria. Will help us really direct or support developers or applicants as they're looking to maybe find the appropriate site for a proposed use within our community.
Yeah, so as part of public engagement, the public notice for the public hearing was posted on the city's website on November 6th. The public hearing will be on December 1st, and we have not received any letters in support or so we are recommending that PAC approve bylaw number CP 111211, which is a list of text amendments, wherein staff are ensuring that the zoning bylaw continues to evolve to meet the changing needs of the community and address emerging development trends. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rosa. Committee members, do you have questions for staff on these changes? Procedure change? Please go ahead, Josephine.
Someone's got to
No.
press the button.
Okay, thank you. I would say that's a beautiful presentation, and I see it's more like a process improvement, which is a good thing vis-a-vis emerging trends while we stay within the threshold of the city's plan. My only question I want to ask is, what's the win-win situation here for all your stakeholders? Is one thing to improve a process, is another thing to know what do the public stand to gain? You know, when I mean the stakeholders, it could be the public, the developers, you, a city of St. John. You know, I was hoping the slide would give a win-win situation, you know, so that everybody knows this improvement is benefiting everybody, you know. And so if there's a win-win situation, would you be able to let us know what for the various stakeholders? Thank you.
Yeah, so I can provide a bit of clarity on this. So when we undertake our housekeeping amendments, we really look at what have we seen come up in the last year from applications, from things that we've noticed that are emerging trends. And then we have a group discussion internally with other service areas to really decide if what we're seeing, what these requests that are coming in from the public, if they can be accommodated, and if there would be a negative impact or a benefit to staff and the city in incorporating them. So I'll take the home occupation example. I'd say in the last year, we've had a number of requests from people who've said, I'd like to do a home occ. There's a nice garage. The person was clearly using it as maybe like a little music room. I want to do sound editing in there. It's perfectly set up. I won't have any customers, it's just me editing. The current bylaw would not allow us to consider that as something we could approve. But when we thought about it, there's not really any change to the built form in the area. The use could be accommodated based on the parking and the structures that are there. And there would not really be any visible change that the neighbors or surrounding area would notice. For us, we looked at it as something that could be supported, would be a positive change for residents who are maybe looking at opening businesses, but without a negative impact that would really change the shape or the flavor of a neighborhood. Similar would be like with a dog grooming or a potter who wishes to use their garage instead of having it in a room in their house. There wouldn't be any change to the building or built form or the traffic generated on the property. It's just a different way to establish a business within the structures and assets they have. Another example would be looking at the twinning of driveways. So right now, if you build a 4-unit row house, we want two driveways twinned together and then the other two twinned together. We've increasingly seen applications come in discussing whether they can amend that. In certain scenarios we've seen, there's no parking allowed on the street. One of the benefits of having twin driveways is it creates more space for on-street parking to be accommodated. If the street is not designed to allow on-street parking, whether it's topography or maybe there's a lot of curves in the road, then there wouldn't be a negative impact or a loss to the community if those driveways were not twinned. It wouldn't impact your ability to have people park in front of your house if you're having an event. There would be no net change. The opposite would be if the street is designed for on-street parking. What would be the impact if someone doesn't want to twin those driveways? There'd be a loss of parking that could be used. And by creating standards that would enable that to be offset with providing additional on-site parking, if you want to separate those twin driveways, it's a way to make sure that the publicly available street parking is there, but there is some flexibility when the site conditions or site design will compensate for any impact that could be envisioned. We worked with our parking commission closely to make sure that they had no concerns with the conditions we were proposing, to make sure that it doesn't really impact the use of the street, but also provides flexibility where we can acknowledge that, yes, the topography of your site does not enable you to twin those driveways. They can't be twinned. Instead of making you apply for variance, we have a mechanism as staff to acknowledge those conditions and support the person moving forward with their application for development. So we try to balance everything with the positive and what the impacts are. Everything we've presented provides either a flexibility to applicants, but as well making sure that we have the ability to ensure quality development or quality submissions so that we're getting a good end development in our community, but also are supporting those who need some flexibility in order to move forward with their applications.
Thank you. Any other committee members? Go ahead, Councilor Lowe.
Explain to me clearly, or more clearly, medium and light industrial use. And because where it says beyond the boundaries of the lot could be very large.
Yes. So I'll try to think of an example. Let's say I am making popsicles. Light industrial will be you're making the popsicles inside, you're loading the popsicles into the truck inside, nothing's happening outside that building. If you drove by, you would not know that Jen is making popsicles. Medium industrial would be Jen's still making those popsicles, but maybe I have the freezers outside, and maybe I am manufacturing the popsicle sticks outside. So you can hear noise when you drive by, or if you're staying on the property, but the impact doesn't really go beyond. You know what's happening, but it's not causing a problem for the surrounding properties. The heavy industrial would be Jen is making popsicles, Jen is making popsicle sticks, she is bringing in a big piece of equipment, and she is taking logs and she is cutting the logs outside, and the noise is loud and there's sawdust everywhere. And everyone knows outside of that property that she is doing a lot of things. The impact is beyond just that property. It can be to neighboring properties. And chances are those neighboring properties also are doing things that are extending beyond those neighboring properties. So it's really a scale of intensity, impact, and where that impact extends. Large properties, properties of all size can be used for all of those uses. And some individuals may choose to have a bigger property so that they can very clearly locate those components of their business or operation further away from their neighboring properties, or incorporate visual or sound buffering to help them be maybe a good neighbor.
what it does, or what it's trying to do, is separate from heavy industry. You've come up with a classification that, because where the problem would lie, like light industry is inside a building, doors are closed. Mediums outside, and to me, the problem will be the nuisance or risk factor to the size of the lot too, right? Like you're talking about the popsicle, how big the lot is. Somebody has a lot that's 2 acres, 3 acres, right? That'll be the problem. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other committee members have questions for staff on this? Thank you. This is a text amendment, so at this, I will ask for a committee recommendation or motion. I have a motion on this. Terry, do I have a seconder? Josephine? Question? All those in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Item 5.4, rezoning application for 421 Woodward Avenue. The applicant is Don Moore Surveys. Landowners is Woodward 421 Developments. Location is 421 Woodward Avenue, PID 55002109. Plan designation stable residential. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger because I think only 2 zeros. Zoning is low-rise residential. Proposed zoning is mid-rise residential. Application type, zoning bylaw amendment and rezoning. Please go ahead.
Thank you. As stated before you today is a revised proposal for 421 Woodward Avenue. The proposal is to rezone the site from low-rise residential to mid-rise residential for the development of 2 apartments. This would include all required parking, landscaping, and amenity space on site. This revised proposal would see the southern building being 6 stories in height, but the northern building facing Woodward only 4 stories. Here is a rendering of the project that can be found in the report, showing that 6 stories on Boar's Head and the 4 stories onto Woodward. The subject property is located in Milledgeville with frontage on both Boar's Head Road and Woodward Avenue. This area is characterized by a mix of housing typologies from low-rise single-family, townhouses, mid-rise, and high-rise, such as the Brentwood Towers. There's also a variety of community uses, such as the neighboring church, seniors' residences, and schools within close proximity. The property itself has an area of approximately 16,000 square meters and would be accessed only off of Boar's Head Road. A traffic study did confirm this to be the appropriate access point. And while there are no sidewalks on the north side of Boar's Head, the traffic study also recommended a crosswalk to connect to the pedestrian network on the south side. In the above images, you can see the frontage along Boar's Head Avenue. The first larger image is where access to the site would be, close to that white van in the image, and then the other 2 are just looking at the property and then down the road. As you can see, the site is currently undeveloped and treed with a large amount of rock that limits site design and access. The site is designated as stable residential in the municipal plan, which supports this proposal. The most relevant policy from the municipal plan would be LU 86, which outlines housing of almost every form and density can be found, and the neighborhood context and compatibility with the municipal plan would determine the suitability of new proposals. The proposed apartment buildings do meet this intent by respecting surrounding density and demonstrate consistency with the municipal plan's broader goals related to housing choice, urban form, and community livability. Other relevant municipal plan policies include LU 87, which intends that areas designated stable residential will evolve over time from a land use and built form perspective, while reinforcing the community character and making positive contributions. The design and scale of these apartments does complement the existing scale and density of the neighborhood, which contains high-rises as well as mid-rise building forms, and this would make a positive contribution to the neighborhood by providing another housing typology and housing choice. With the revised plan to make the northern building only 4 stories in height, it helps create a transition from that low-rise typology to the mid-rise form. The site is currently zoned low-rise residential, which is intended to accommodate a range of ground-oriented, lower-density residential development in a variety of housing forms: single-family, semi-detached, duplexes, townhouses, etc. The mid-rise residential zone is intended to accommodate a range of mid-rise and medium-density residential developments in the form of townhouses, multi-unit dwelling apartments, and condominiums with a maximum height of 4 stories. There are also in the RM zone more requirements for landscaping between these developments and adjacent low-rise properties, and this is to help create buffers between the two forms. Letters were mailed out to property owners within 100 meters of the subject site on October 25th. 35 letters have been received, 1 in support and 34 in opposition. The applicants themselves did do community engagement. They did some door-to-door and sent out letters. They also held a series of one-on-one meetings at their office and provided direct contact to anyone with questions. Public notice was posted on the city's website on November 6th, as the public hearing date is scheduled for December 1st in front of Common Council. As this proposal does align with all relevant policy, staff are recommending that council rezone the property from RL to RM, but we are also recommending the adoption of 3 Section 59 conditions as stated in the report. The first one would be in regards to that traffic study. There is a requirement for a crosswalk. Another requirement would be for a fire hydrant as per our fire department's request. And then we would be requesting a limit of 4 stories on that northernmost building to help maintain that transition. Thank you.
Thank you. Committee members have questions for staff at this time? Councilor Sullivan, please.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Just current requirements around timing for rock breaking. There would be a significant amount of rock required to be broken. When are they allowed to do that?
So they would need to operate within the noise bylaw. I believe the hours of operation are the standard daytime operation. I don't have them exactly in front of me, but it's generally like 8 to 5.
I just, for clarification, maybe if staff can double check, I think it's like from 7 a.m. till 9 p.m.
We can definitely look into that.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I will have questions later. But at this point, I'll ask the developer to, the applicant to come forward if you state your name. And if you're in agreement with the staff recommendation.
What's going to happen when I'll figure it
Click
out?
the arrow and then you have to click on it.
Okay. Good evening, members of the committee. My name is Isaiah Reed from Delmore Surveys and Engineering. I have a presentation here for you guys this evening that I want to go over some of the changes that we made on our application, answering a lot of the questions about building height, some more visuals that are a one-to-one replica of this project, and also the timeline on this as well. So a couple of the first things that I want to address this evening is the unit counts. Obviously, with the transition of the building B being brought to a 4-story building, we had to stretch it out, kind of like we had discussed at council, and it brought us to 166 units. As you guys can see on the screen, there's a mix of units, 97 one-bedrooms. We got 53 two-bedrooms, and we have 16 three-bedroom units as well. Again, like Ava said, and I will get into it a little bit later as well, we've had some discussions with the neighbors, especially along Woodward Avenue, due to the stretch of the building and trying to help with privacy for them, whether that be fencing or replantation of additional trees on top of what you will see in the video that we've produced for you guys this evening as well. So the first thing that I want to get into here is a cut and fill drawing that we have produced for the site. And when we first come to council, we were really facing a large amount of, pushback due to the housing project that was next door to us, and understandably that was 8 months of rock breaking that happened there. And on our site, we are trying to work with the ground the absolute best that we can, and it's in the developer's best interest, on top of that, to not break rock. We don't want to break rock. Unfortunately, the only thing that's left in this area is rock and swamp. So if you want to build, that's kind of what you have. Now, in this takeoff, obviously, you can see that green is what we have to fill, and red is what we have to cut. The big number that we got to look at here that everyone's concerned about is the cut volume. We're taking 2,011 cubic meters of rock out of the site. Now, luckily for us, for comparison, to put this into context, we had topographic data from the adjacent site from us from 2018, which is the housing project. I can't, and now I was able to fly it again and get the current site's surface. So taking where the existing site was in 2018 before development, and then taking today's data, able to get a number for that as well. I can't take into account the infrastructure that they put in. I can't take into account any of the foundations or anything like that. I don't have that data, but from what it was at surface to surface today, again, they took from Boar's Head to Woodward Avenue. The whole thing is stripped from one side to the other. And theirs is about 6,000, just a little bit more than 6,000 cubic meters. So we're about a third of the rock that is coming out of our site versus the housing project that was next door. And on that, you know, if they took 8 months, it's the same rock side by side. I'm not saying that, you know, we're about a third. 2 to 3 months is the predicted amount of time that it would take for us to cut the rock that we have illustrated here. So that is what we plan to do. Again, still in the preliminary stage of that, but I hope that puts into a little bit of context of how much thought we've actually put into building buildings up around, or building around the building with the site rather than just cutting the site from Boar's Head to Woodward Avenue. This is the next, so I'll click on this and hopefully I can get this to load for us here. So I'm gonna play this back, but I'm gonna play it back at a slower playback speed so we can all sort of watch. Now, before I play this, what this video is what we call a slam scanner, and it's a LiDAR that we go out and we mesh a drone LiDAR from the top, and then there's a slam scanner that's creating billions of points. All of these houses is LiDAR data where we're creating this image from and creating the video from. What we're doing is we're walking along Woodward Avenue, and we took this elevation from what you're seeing is the average male height, and the average human walks with their head at an 8-degree angle. So the first walkthrough of this, that's what it's gonna be like. If you're walking down the street, you're holding your head normal, you're just walking, what you see on the site. The second one is an exaggerated view, putting your head up to 25 degrees, and that's what we'll see through here. So I'll play this video through for us here. And we did make, obviously the building won't be yellow, but for exaggerated purposes, we want you to see what you can expect. This is holding your head as if you were walking down, and every tree that is on here, on these properties, is exactly what will remain when we go for the development. And this is the exaggerated view at 25%. And so that's that. I can play that after if people wish to watch that again. We can go through that if we need to. The last thing that, you know, or not the last thing, sorry, but one of the common threads among people I spoke to, letters, so on and so forth, was that this development doesn't necessarily fit the area. And this is just a little bit of a visualization for the surrounding areas and what zoning exists around there already. Right beside us is an RM zone. We have CFN, which is major community facility zones, all in the surrounding areas as well, high-rise zones, and then of course the RL. It is a great mixed area, and I think that our RM would fit into here fantastically. What we want to do is create that path forward to, you know, a term that may be overused at this point, but gentle density in an area of going from, you know, a 3-story building to our proposed development, 15-story buildings. And I know Brentwood is a very old building, but nonetheless, every one of us has driven down Woodward Avenue and you don't miss it. So it is certainly there as well. From our site, looking for a mid-rise building to Brentwood is a 7-minute walk, should you start at where the houses start. Proximity to this area, I do believe that this is a great fit. This is some of the community engagement that has been done so far. These letters have been brought out. I have not hit every single person yet. I do intend to get to everybody that I can, and I've had people in my office. We've sat for hour sessions at a time, having some discussions, phone calls, door-to-doors. You know, some of the other concerns, and this slide made me think of it again, but another one of the residents, I was at his house, and there was questions about, you know, the rendering that we illustrated that was passed out, that is just a rendering and those tree heights didn't match. That was a large reason that we did that video, going back a little bit, was to just ensure that there was a one-to-one visual for everybody to look at and understand what trees will remain, what the actual heights will be, so on and so forth. We will remain active and try to get to as many more residents, and I am always available should anyone be trying to get a hold of me. But I will try to get to as many as I possibly can before council, should tonight be a pass. And again, Yeva already showed this, but this is a rendering of the building. So.
Thank you. Committee members have questions? I see Phil, we'll start with you.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Love the video. That actually brings a lot into perspective when you're doing that. I'm not sure whose idea was that, but well done. My question's two-part. How long is the whole project going to take? And I'm not even sure you can answer this one. How long does it take to cut the rock per cubic meter?
I don't know.
Because the noise thing is what everybody was really
Yes,
concerned about
yes.
the most.
Yep.
Right, so
Yep.
I just looking for maybe, I heard you say 3 months earlier. I'm guessing you just threw that at the top of your
Well, I
head.
just threw that out based on if we're a third of the project next door to us, they took 8 months, so on and so forth. So, you know, 2 to 3 months would be what it would take to, if the rock was the same, if you were putting them side by side and you had the same machine there, because I could bring 50 machines and get it done in a week, right? But
Right, yeah.
I'm not gonna do that. But if you just took the same scale to the same scale of what the residents have already had to live through, I suppose that's kind of where I came up with that number. But as for the cost or per cubic meter or length per cubic meter, I'm not.
Yeah, I was just looking for a rough estimate, and you're throwing 2 to 3 months.
Yeah.
I guess maybe the residents would be looking for that as well.
Yep.
One more thing.
Timeline, sorry.
The timeline, yeah.
Well, we don't have a finished timeline at this current moment. We would like to start with building A and then proceed forward from there, but we would likely be going through the due diligence and planning phase up until next year, for sure. Like, you know, at the next step of this would be getting design drawings done, which right now, due to everything that's going on, and final designed and approved drawings. So right there, you probably have 4 to 5 months before anything even begins at site. But once it starts, I would imagine that it would be done within 3 years, likely.
One more thing.
Mhm.
I sound like Columbo here. The 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., have you heard, is that a
7
a
till 9.
feasible
Sorry,
time frame
that's-
to do all that cutting?
Yes, it would be, but just for clarification, I believe the correct is 7 till 9 is what the bylaw is.
Yeah.
But yes, the
Okay.
developer is open to working within hours that are suitable to the.
Yeah, again, that's the most concern,
Yep.
it was the noise, a little bit of traffic, but mostly noise. Yeah, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Councilor Sullivan?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. You alluded to it earlier about fencing. I do appreciate the video. Less concerned about the folks walking down the street, more concerned with the folks looking at the back window of their house.
Yes.
And you could see in the video, when you looked between the houses at some point in time, there was the building, right, through a couple of trees. You could see, so what is the commitment you've talked to the neighbors about for something?
Yep. So we've had discussions with multiple of them, and we've said that we'd be willing to put up a fence, put up trees, what may be necessary to assist with their backyard privacy. We, again, during these conversations, we were trying to have the debate, like, you know, before we went and said, this is 100% what we will do. Obviously, we were looking to see, okay, well, you know, if we do X, Y, and Z and get every one of your needs met, you know, can you meet us somewhere where, you know, you come up and you'll be able to speak for us and just, you know, we've worked with you and we're trying actively. And that's not to say that either way, it's just hard to make a promise when this is our second time through the process and we still don't have an approved project.
No, understandable.
Yeah.
And I appreciate all the community engagement you've done. I would suggest, even if the project goes forward and your neighbors still aren't happy, you still want to be a good neighbor.
Absolutely. Well, yes, no,
Yeah.
like, that's what I'm saying. So we definitely have been having that conversation nonstop about what we could do to.
Okay,
to
so
put
thank you.
something up.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Chair.
Counselor Lowe?
Did you do the last presentation with us? Did you?
No, that was
No.
Andrew. Yeah.
So from the time they left and flew out back to BC, what's the biggest change to this project?
The biggest change would be that we went to 4 stories on building B. The second biggest change would be the site grading. And those were the major changes that we've done.
Correct.
Yep.
So if and when you start building, are you going to build both at the same time?
No, build an A.
Say that again?
No, sorry. No, we will be building A first.
And then you'll be completely occupied in A before you start B?
Yes.
Then you'll start B right after you're occupied? or-
I would imagine, but that would be up to the developers. And that's what their plan is. And I know that sometimes, I don't know if the reason for asking is just for timeline or,
But what I'm trying to get at is that the land will be cleared, the land will be ready for the second building
yes.
when the first building's done.
Likely when machines land on site, we do all
Or
of the.
they'll do both
yes,
sides, that's the
yes.
question.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Peter?
Question, in your video,
Yep.
when you're going down the street, and you said that's how it's going to be maintained, those trees in the backyard?
Yes.
Are all those trees in that video on the land of those landowners on Woodward
Yes.
Avenue?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Because I know the site's going to get developed to its
Yes.
perimeter.
Yes.
You're not going to be able to help it.
No, absolutely. But there is an area that, and it was in one of Yeva's slides actually as well, where we have a surrounding green area that we'd be willing to put up, you know, silt fencing and what we have to do to remain an undisturbed area, to remain that buffer in as well. There is thin areas in that, and we acknowledge that. So working on privacy through there is important to them.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you. I've got a few things here. I just, because Common Council has decided that their public hearings aren't being held, and so there are 34 letters that were brought to our attention. I've got a number of different questions from those messages, because I feel that it's important that they get brought forward. One of the first ones I have is why do are we continuing to use 421 Woodward Avenue when the driveway is going to be off Boar's Head Road?
Well, that would be a question for city staff, but I can try to answer the best I can. I believe that it's just when you're assigning a civic address, they literally pick somewhere on the property, and that's where it gets assigned. They would have picked the 421 Woodward Avenue. That was the address. In the future, we might be able to get it changed.
Yeah,
Sorry.
it's just the civic address assigned
Yeah.
by IGIS. When an application comes in with a permit, a new civic address will be established for the buildings based on the access point.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
So speaking of the access point, I was trying to find where the driveway is going to be, kind of like in relation to the church across the street.
I wish I had a larger image of it, but the driveway, well, I guess you probably can't see my mouse.
Because there is
Oh,
quite
yeah.
a knoll there.
So this is where the driveway will be in relation.
Yeah, so
Right there.
you're just as you're coming up that knoll.
Right before, yeah, just as you kind
So
of,
somebody pulling out, turning toward the city
But, yes, and this is where in the traffic impact study that we had to do, they requested a crosswalk to be actually input in there too, so
Yeah.
that if there is any pedestrian crossing, that you'd have stop and so on and so forth.
All right. The parking, are you doing underground parking?
Yes,
Okay, so like one level or two level, like how far
just
down?
one
One
level
underground and then
parking.
surface parking from the diagram?
Yep,
Okay, and then you've answered the question in regards to the schedule, and you're going to do it in a phased.
Yep.
But the rock will all be done at one time. It'll be done
Yes,
first. The last time the proposal was brought, we talked about having a pathway from behind Building B to go down to Woodward Avenue.
Yep.
I don't see that on the plan any longer.
So again, part of community engagement is the two neighbors that live on either side are in complete disagreement of what should happen with that
Yes.
property, and we're trying to figure out how we can please people. So right now, we were open to working with parks. We're still open to working with parks, should that be a thing. If that doesn't come to fruition and a possibility of a sale for a portion of it to protect the neighbor adjacent to that, to them and have them portions, we've also discussed that with the developer. Right now, we don't have an answer for what that will be.
So lot 3, there's a possibility you may sell that.
We've been having the discussion
Yes.
of all the possibilities that could
Okay.
happen there, yes.
So at this point, there's no pathway.
There is nothing, yeah.
Okay.
No, the servicing all goes out to Boar's Head Road, yeah.
Okay, those are the questions that I have. I've got questions for staff a little bit later, but thank you. Anybody else have questions at this time for the developer,
Yeah, just one more, Mr. Chair, thanks. Low income, there was one question on their concern about low income. How many, is there a percentage?
So just, I want to just be really clear, it won't be low income, but affordable. We will have to meet CMHC's requirements in order to do affordable housing, yeah.
Perfect,
Yeah.
okay.
Thank you. Any other committee members have questions? Thank you. I
Thank you.
appreciate your time. At this time, I will close, close public hearing and bring the staff back and we'll so do committee members have question for staff? I do. So my question is in regards to Woodward Avenue, and looks like they've got 166 units. Is there any talk of what you're going to do in relation to Woodward Avenue, Millage Avenue? Is there talk of lights in there, or traffic circle, or like we're looking at another 150 cars? And
So
more
the
traffic?
traffic impact statement did, I can pass this on to my colleague, but we did get comments back from our traffic and infrastructure team that there are upgrades foreseen along that corridor already that will address some of this issue, but I don't know if there's more comments from our team.
I can simply comment that the TIS that was prepared indicated that there wouldn't be any adverse impacts to levels of service at intersections between Boar's Head Road and Millage Avenue, Woodward Avenue and Millage Avenue, and at the, I guess, at the driveway entrance itself. Just based on the existing traffic volumes, it would be considered to be overall minimal, and we are in agreement with I guess, the recommended traffic improvements with the location of the crosswalk. And I believe, as Eva mentioned, that there are already signal improvements being contemplated for some of these intersections. There'll be capital programs that'll be undertaken separately for those.
Thank you. Committee members hear that all right? Okay, thank you. Committee members have any other questions for city staff at this time? I hope that we've covered most of the questions that the members of public sent in. And I encourage the members of the public to come to council if they feel that the questions have not been answered in today's session. So at this time, I would ask if the committee has any other questions, to bring a motion forward. Do I have a motion
I-
or a question?
Well, I don't know if I really want to put a motion forward on it, but if a motion does go forward, I'd like to add a section 59 with regards to the rock breaking time there was a suggestion in a letter to limit it from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. instead of 7 a.m. until 9 p.m. 8 till 6 would at least give a little sleep time and break for folks who, if you went to work, you might miss most of it. But 7 a.m. is rough to wake up to every day, and 9 p.m., if you get in my age, like to go to bed a little early, it's a little tough. So I would propose the addition of
6 p.m.
the section 59 to limit
Did you get that?
the rock breaking from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m.
So we have I'd like to get a motion, I guess, on the floor. I've got a motion from Phil and yeah, well, let's get a motion and then we got a motion.
Okay.
We got a seconder. So now we've got an amendment to the motion.
Sorry, does the motion include that?
Yeah.
Sure. I will make a motion of staff recommendations with the section 59.
Okay, thank you. Have you got-
On the question?
Yes, on the question now.
Did you? Sorry. So just to clarify on that can draw the pain out for a longer period of time when you limit the time that a construction crew can work. I mean, these guys get up at the crack of dawn and they're gone and they want to get a full day in. When,
I totally understand the math, and they get up at the crack of dawn. I don't think the neighbors need to do it too.
no, but if you limit 8 o'clock, you're really shrinking their window.
And having lived through the bird construction, waking me up at 7 o'clock and listening to it finish at 9 p.m. every night, I would have taken a little bit longer time to get a little more sleep. So
Yeah.
that's why I understand completely what you're saying.
I'm not
so
disagreeing with limiting the time on the day. I'm just pointing out that you're going to draw that process out over a longer period of time. And, it's difficult in a city with an 8-month window to do construction. And there's a pile of work laying out there. And now you're trying to limit their day. It's not going to be a very good use of their time.
Okay.
I'm only pointing it out. It doesn't
Yep.
matter to me.
You get 2 months. Counselor Lowe?
Agree with starting at 7. But the tail end of it, I mean, I don't want it to go 9 o'clock in the winter. I mean, the seasons of the year make a big difference, right? I do agree that he said it could probably take 3 months. I don't want to take 4 months when it can take 3 months. But I think that they should start at 7 in the morning, but it should be canceled long before night. I mean, in the wintertime, it's dark at 5, dark at 4:30, 6 o'clock. I'd much prefer the 7 to 6 o'clock, they pack up and leave, right? Just,
So I think what we've got here is a motion, and with an amendment from 8 to 6. And I would suggest that that's maybe be our recommendation to council, and maybe in the next week and a half, 2 weeks before it goes to council, that staff look at this a little bit more and that they talk to the developer. And if they decide to maybe massage those times a little bit, then we can do it at that time. Is that a fair statement to everybody? Councilor Lowe?
why wouldn't the amendment be separated from the motion? I mean, there's two separate things here. There's a
So-
motion, and then they added an amendment. I want to vote for the motion, but I don't want to vote for the amendment. That's the difference, right? I mean, should they not be separated? Should not the motion be voted, and then the amendment can be voted first, and then the motion after?
Jennifer? Okay, so we're going to deal with it in 2 separate pieces? Does that make sense to staff? I'm getting a head nod over there. So you're going to withdraw, and we'll start again and ask for a motion to accept the staff recommendation, and then we'll have a second motion. Yeah. Second that. Any question? All those in favor? Opposed? Nay. We have one nay. You get that? So now I'll ask for a second.
I'll move the section 59 be added, that would make the rock breaking time from 8 AM to 6 PM.
So I have a second. Do I have a seconder for that? I have a seconder, Phil? Any question? So I have a question. At this point, when it goes to council, will they be able to adjust that? This is all, this
We just
is a
make
recommendation.
recommendations.
It's a recommendation to council. I just want to
Yeah,
clarify
so it's a
that.
recommendation. We can put in the language based on the discussion in the chair letter that the time is proposed as a starting point for council's consideration. And we can have that language in the chair letter so that they understand the context behind it.
And certainly what the chair's comments were key. I would expect there to be a conversation between staff and the developer between now and council to bring more, a fuller explanation to.
Okay, thank you.
Correct the comment.
Okay.
Motion before, if I can.
The first motion's already passed.
No, yeah, but. it's
On this
the
one,
we're
on the
about to-
time, on the
that's
section
floor,
59?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
So just back to Councillor Sullivan's concern about the time slot. Look, I can totally understand and agree with why you're saying that, because when they went on that site that you're referring to, they had one small machine, and they tried to do a massive job with a small machine, and he ticked away there forever. So the guys, I think, that are involved here are not going to go that route. From my understanding, they're going to go to a much larger, sophisticated civil contractor that's going to come in there and hit it and shorten that window up greatly. So I wouldn't expect that would be the same problem. At least that's the way.
And, you know, this gives that opportunity to have that fuller explanation when it gets to council. So, yeah, that's the kind of more information I would love to hear when we get there.
Thank you. So I've got a motion. Second, question?
I just wondering, can the applicant give me an idea, how much extra cost does it add by extending
Can't
that
ask,
time
no.
if you reduce the hours?
Well, one machine is greater than $500 a day. It's extensive. It's a bit, do I need to go there?
I'm not even sure you're supposed to speak. Yeah,
Okay.
there is no
that's fine.
public hearing. But I think it's something that that has to be discussed between staff and the developer between now and the council meeting. All we're doing is making a recommendation, and council can either agree with it or amend it or disagree with it totally. But it is something that is a major concern to the neighbors. All right, so I have a motion, a seconder, question. All those in favor? Opposed? Oh, we have one opposed. Did you get that? Thank you. Two? Two? Yeah, I need those for this? No, those for it. I want to know who's for it. Please, that are for it. Okay, and those opposed are 3.
You're the tiebreaker.
I already voted for it.
You voted for?
Yes, for the recommendation. Okay, so we've got that. So that's 5.4. So next, I'll look for a motion for adjournment. Meeting be adjourned. Second, all those in favor? Thank you. I don't know, they locked a bunch of it up now.